landed, and I remember when I was being picked up at the airport, I didn't know what to do. I went down to, off the plane, through the concourses, found my way through SFO, and as I was coming out, there were all these guys, the limo drivers with the names. I didn't expect to see my name on any of those pieces of paper. I thought, I never even had a limo ever. And I was just looking at these guys. I noticed one of them had Austin. I went, that's a bit weird. And he saw me looking at him, and he's like, Mark Austin? So I said, yeah. He goes, oh, you're limo or whatever. I'm your driver or whatever. So I'm like, really? I felt really posh. I felt very posh. So I remember it was nighttime when I arrived at SFO. And I was a bit disappointed. I thought walking out of the airport would be skyscrapers everywhere. I thought, that's America. I had this idea of America as just being skyscrapers from the East Coast all the way over to the West Coast. I never imagined that there was any countryside left. I don't know why. None of my family had ever been to America. My mother had actually, before I lived in America, she actually never had any desire to come to America. She was like, I don't want to go there. Why do I want to go there? Why skyscrapers everywhere? And then when she came and visited me when I was in California, then she fell in love with America. Complete 180. But I was disappointed it was dark and we were going, I could see the city, and the city actually looks very impressive at night time, so it was a bonus. And we were driving through from the south of the city through over to the Golden Gate Bridge. And I remember going over the Golden Gate Bridge, and at that point, just going over the Golden Gate Bridge, I felt completely at home, and it was the most weird feeling. And I really the Golden Gate Bridge has a real special place for me. Because of that, I was completely lost, and as soon as I went over the bridge, I felt completely at home. And my mother said that there's a name for that people that come to San Francisco and feel completely at home there, supposedly there's a name. They call them the Children of Atlantis or something like that, or Lost Children of Atlantis or something like that. There's some term for that feeling of, wow. I don't know whether it's because it reminded me somewhat of London, some of the architecture, but I mean completely hilly, so but it did have a feel of London, much more than Los Angeles does. But as I was going over the Golden Gate Bridge, I remember just feeling completely at home, and everything kind of just ease. Like it was almost like a shed, this kind of burden of this whole 3 weeks preparing to come here was only kind of just shed. And they took me up to the Holiday Inn in San Rafael, which is about 25 minutes drive past the Golden Gate Bridge, and got shown to my room. And because it was nighttime, I didn't get to see that there weren't skyscrapers everywhere, but it didn't look like there were, which is the weird part. And I remember when I woke up in my room, I put the TV on, and on the TV was a 49ers game. And I was like, wow, that's lucky, because in England I had played this American football game. It was Joe Montana Sports Talk was the name of the game, and there's Joe Montana, giving the commentary. And so you wanted to make a touchdown because you wanted him to say, or do the commentary, and it's a touchdown. And so I thought that's unusual that I've been playing as the Joe Montana and the San Francisco 49ers all this time, and now I'm here. And I put the TV on, and there it is. It's the 49ers playing in the playoffs. And so, and it wasn't recorded; it was live. When we watched it in college, we had to stay up to 4 a.m. or something to watch the game, because they did broadcast it live, but in the student bar at middle of the night. So I was in my hotel room. I was too scared to go out my hotel room in case someone shot me. With those skyscrapers and cop cars and guns everywhere. And I probably would have stayed in that hotel room for 2 days, ordering food or going to the restaurant, and never leaving this hotel ever until I had to go to work on Monday. And so I was, just camping in this hotel room. And suddenly there's a knock at the door. And there's a guy there, it's a Canadian guy called, his name was Philip Alexi. And I was like, oh. He goes, oh, I thought you're the new guy, right? I thought I'd just show you around, just to get you kind of acquainted with what's what, I could take you into the office and show you your desk and stuff, and kind of, get you up to speed. And, oh, okay. Hope I don't get shot, Got dressed, went with him, and was on the freeway. I thought the freeway was crazy. I'd never seen so many lanes. Everyone seemed to be passing on all sides of the car. I was like, there's no order. How can I drive here? And luckily, he was driving, and he said, if you want, I'm in the hotel as well. If you want to rent your car, you get 2 weeks rental. If you want to rent your car in 2 weeks, or at the end of the week or something like that, I'm quite happy to drive you. Okay. So we drove into San Rafael, and he showed me my desk, and it was all quiet. There's no one in there. It was Saturday. It was all still. And there was a name on my desk, Mark Austin's desk. And he goes, this is what we've dubbed Casperland. It was e-building of the old ILM site. And he showed me where I was. I was the last person there. Everyone else had started like a week or so ago. I was like the tardy one, So he said, you probably want to log on to your computer. And I was like, how do I do that? He goes, well, luckily he was a techie guy. So you just have to log on and create a password. Okay. So I made a password. Got in there. I had a computer, but that's all I had. I didn't have email. I didn't have the internet. There was just a computer. So nothing much I could do. It was just a screen. Well, that's cool. Shall I log off now? Log off. My empty computer. And I remember my computer name. All the computer but they were named after Star Wars characters. And so my computer was Lars, like Luke's uncle and Owen. So Lars was my computer. And apparently they said that, you might be moving around. They might change your location. People have had to shuffle a bit. But your computer will always go with you. So it was me and Lars. And so that was great. He goes, we even have pool tables and pinball and video games. I'm like an arcade? He goes, no, they're all free. Really? So I have to rewind. To probably 4 to 6 weeks before we all got told we were going to be laid off from Wyatt Cattaneo. So 4 to 6 weeks before my boss came in, Ron Wyatt came in, and he said, I want you to come and meet my wife and my stepson. So we all had to get up and go into the reception, and we met his wife. I'd seen her a couple of times, but I never met his stepson. He was over from America. His name was Guy Hudson, and he had a shiny bald head and a big smile, and he had bother boots and a denim jacket and looked just cool. And He looked American. You know, he didn't look like boring English. He looked American. You know. So I was like, oh wow, met this guy from America. He had a thick Cockney accent though. It's not like any time in America had changed his accent. And so we were hanging out, and he ended up coming into, you know, hanging out in our animation office, you know, away from, they were all chatting, doing their thing. He kind of hang out with the lads, you know. And he was like, you know, so maybe we should go for a drink afterwards. And so we went for a drink afterwards, and it ended up in a nightclub in Shaftesbury Avenue somewhere. And was at a nightclub till 2 a.m, dancing away and getting drunk, and with this, my boss's stepson, guy. And, you know, at the end of the night, he went off, and that was it. I didn't think I was ever going to see him again. Never thought I'd cross paths with this guy. He was going back to America to do what he worked in the movie industry, doing something. So he was going back, and that was it. I thought it was a chance encounter that I didn't pay any mind to. It just was a cool evening out with this guy named Guy. So that happened, and then 6 weeks later, the hammer dropped, and my life went to crap. I lost my job and everything. So that happened. I'm in ILM. It's Saturday. There's nobody in there. I'm looking at my empty desk. I'm logging on. Philip is showing me the video games. So we're playing pool, and in walks a person. I'm like, I recognise that bald head. It's Guy Hudson, the guy I had met. My boss's stepson was in ILM on a Saturday afternoon when I was there. So I'm like, what are the chances of this happening? This is like, if someone wrote this, they'd be like, that's too far-fetched. That's ridiculous. You know, there's too many coincidences here. No one's going to believe that, you know. He walks in, and it was a moment where we're kind of, what? And he comes over, what are you doing here? And I said, I'm starting work on Monday. Really? On what? I said, I'm working on this movie cast. Oh, you are? Oh, I never knew that. I said, you work here? He goes, yeah, I thought I told you that. We're drinking, you know. Drinking. It goes in this ear, comes out this ear. So, I was like, I'm speechless. It's the funniest thing is Philip's face, because Philip was like, "How can I'm just showing this guy from England around on when the studio's closed, and even then he bumps into someone he knows, you know." So, guy is like, we have to go out, because we'd been out for nightclubbing before. So I was like the nightclubbing person, the person he would invite out. You have to come out with me and the guys and blah, blah, blah. And and I can even show you the archives. I was like, what? He's like, I can even show you the archives. They're off limits. But, you know, I know. I got my in, you know. I got my contacts. I know Don, and Don B's ran the archives, and Guy Hudson was in with Don B's. So he's like, you know, it's off limits, but I can get you in there. We should go one lunchtime. I was like, I would die to visit the Star Wars archives and see all the props and the droids and the costumes and the spaceships, and it was like, just tell me when. I'll work it out. I'll work it out somehow. But we have to do this, you know. So, had I not met Guy in England, this would never have happened. And had I not bumped into Guy, I might have bumped into him, you know, at some point else. But because it was an opportune moment where we could both speak, and, you know, it wasn't like in the middle of a work day, kind of crossing in the corridor or something. He actually had time to stop and chat. And so that was my opportunity to see the one costume I wanted to see. You know, I love all the Star Wars costumes, but there was one costume I wanted to see, and he knew that. He knew that I was a big Star Wars fan. You know, he knew when he came over to England, and all I wanted to do was see the Boba Fett suit. If I could go along and see even just the helmet, if I could see, I didn't know at that time that there'd be more than one helmet. I figured there was, you know, a suit. I didn't know there'd be more than one. But all I wanted to do is to, if see it, maybe touch it, you know, maybe like touch the real Boba Fett helmet or something, you know. So that happened, and I was elated. You know, I was elated. I hadn't even started work yet. This was Saturday before my first day working on Monday. I think it was the 8th, January the 8th. I was starting on the 10th, I believe. So that was my in to visiting the archives. That was my one opportunity, and I took firm hold of it. I wasn't going to let go of this one opportunity. And I remember that we went to the went driving down Lucas Valley Road. Lucas Valley Road is really, really long, and I was like, maybe it's called Lucas Valley Road because George Lucas lives off of it. I thought it must be why it's called Lucas Valley Road. Apparently it was called Lucas Valley Road way before he bought a ranch there, but in my mind it's George Lucas Valley Road, you know. So we're driving down. It takes a long while to drive there, and all the time I was like butterflies. And I remember we got there, and it was, you know, there's the way you could tell it was Lucas Ranch or Skywalker Ranch, according to Guy. You have to wait to see the llamas. When we see the llamas, we're there. So I was looking for llamas the whole route. I found that, you know, finally we came past this paddock with these llamas there, and there they are. And the next gate was these big two gates there. No people, just two huge gates. And so he comes up and he stops. I'm like, oh, maybe no one's home. And then suddenly these gates open up, like Jurassic Park or something, you know. So we drive in, still no people. I'm like, what the hell? So I figured there must be cameras or something. We drive. I see a kiosk. Drive to this kiosk, and he does all the talking, blah blah blah. I'm here to visit Don B's, or I'm visiting the blah blah blah, and we go in. And it's gorgeous. Lucas Ranch is in this valley. It's a big L-shaped valley. It goes all the way down and turns a corner, and I guess the house is around the corner. But there's all these signs saying, you know, slow down because deer are running across the path, and there's people on bikes. Everyone looks like they're in summer camp or something. Everyone's happy. It's like a picture postcard. And I think we went first to, we parked and we went to they had a cafeteria with a gym in it, and that's where we met Don. And then I can't remember if we took a bike or drove to the archives because everything's spread out. All I remember is when I first walked into the archives, the first thing I saw was the land speeder, and it didn't have the tail exhaust on it, you know, the middle one that's raised. It was minus that, and it didn't have the plexi, the windshield. But other than that, it was the land speeder. I didn't care. It was the land speeder. You want to get in it? Can I? So I sat in the land speeder. It was too much. It was sensory overload. So I'm glad I have photos of visiting the archives, because had I not, I think my senses would have just short-circuited and I wouldn't be able to remember anything. But sat in the land speeder, I got to put Indiana Jones's jacket on and the fedora, and there's the whip. And then he goes, I know why you're here. And he gestures, and I look over, and there's this, I don't know whether they're maintaining it or cleaning it or restoring it, but the whole costume was on this desk. And I was just in seventh heaven. I could just spend the whole of the time just I could pick the costume up, I could handle everything, I could look at it, I could even put it on and look out the T-visor. It was like it was a fanboy's dream come true. It was like having it's like Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, but the Star Wars equivalent of it. It's like seeing everything that behind the curtains to do with Star Wars, that was off limits to everyone. But I could walk down all these long aisles and look at all the props and the miniatures they'd made of when they were designing the monsters, and R2 units, all these R2 units everywhere, and Star Destroyers, and just everything. It was just like, it was sensory overload. It literally was sensory overload. It's like, I guess, when you go to Disneyland, you just can't do Disneyland in a day. It's just too much. It's just too much to take in. You have to go back. So I remember taking lots of pictures of the costume, the Boba Fett costume, because I wanted to make a model kit of it, and I'd purchased a model kit from, they had a store at ILM, like a kind of a store with a few things in. Didn't have that much, but they had some model kits, and I bought the model kit for Boba Fett. So I was taking pictures so I could get all the colours right and everything when I made the model kit. And and Don B's and Guy were laughing at me and saying, "Oh, he's a squid head for sure." And I was like, "Squid head?" He goes, "Yeah, that's our name for the uber Star Wars geeks, the ones that are just like you, just like in heaven, looking at this stuff." Because to them it was like they'd seen it so many times, it was nothing, but to me it was, I had eyes as big as saucers, like I didn't blink. And so anyway, so I got on really well with Don. He's an amazing, nice guy. And he said, if you ever want to come back, just let me know. And really? So I can? He goes, yeah, we're not meant to, but if you just send me just give me a call, and we can do it on lunchtime if you want to come back. And I was like, oh, I'd love to come back. And I did go back a lot, but that first time was, I thought that was it. I thought that was the highest I could climb as a Boba Fett fan. I figured this was the tip of the mountain. To actually be able to look at and handle the real costume was like winning the lottery for me. And I didn't think there could be anything more spectacular for a Boba Fett fan than what I was, than this. Just being able to have at it, and yeah, it was a dream come true. It was something that no one could have. If someone had said to me, even a few months before, "Oh, you're going to be actually looking at the real costume in a few months' time," I wouldn't have believed them. But there it was, and it was all very surreal. And I think because all these events happened, one after the other, like dominoes falling, it was more surreal because I was just getting used to the fact that I was, working for George Lucas, and here I was in the archives and looking at the costume. It was very surreal, but pretty amazing.